to be the best. I want to be the best there ever was. I want to make this team the best WNBA team there's ever been. But also, I want to win for my teammates. I want to win for this franchise.
Hello guys, welcome back to TFD. Today we're diving into a touchy subject, and I mean really touchy. We're going to talk about something that keeps popping up again and again whenever Caitlin Clark's name enters the conversation. Media attacks, racial division narratives, and the kind of commentary that says more about the writer than the subject itself. Now, this all started because of an article by Eaton Thomas. Yes, that Eaton Thomas, published by The Guardian, and this is the kind of stuff we've been seeing far too often surrounding Caitlin Clark, her fan base, and the WNBA as a whole. And honestly, Eaton Thomas is the perfect example of what I call a skin color hustler. He makes his living off dividing people, keeping folks angry, suspicious, and resentful of each other. And the sad part is mainstream outlets like The Guardian keep promoting this kind of thinking. They amplify it, they validate it, and that's why we keep seeing it. Now, this particular article came out back in September, not long after Caitlin Clark's absence for the remainder of the season became official. But even though some time has passed, the message in that piece still rings loud and wrong today. Let's start by looking at Eaton's tweet promoting his article. He says, "To her most toxic followers, Caitlin Clark isn't a player, but a symbol. The great white hope, the white damsel under attack from jealous black opponents." Really? Actually, no, Eaton. Caitlin Clark isn't a symbol. She's a phenomenal basketball player who changed the game and brought in a massive audience. Period. She didn't need a narrative. She didn't need to be some great white hope. She just needed a basketball and a court. And if we're being honest, every player, black, white, purple, whatever, in the WNBA should be thankful that Caitlin Clark helped bring more eyes to their sport. Because fans aren't tuning out because of race, they're tuning in because she's entertaining, because she's different. But Eaton in this piece tries to make her fans out to be some mob, his words. Angry not because Caitlin's hurt, but because they lost their symbol. Now, that's one of the most intellectually lazy arguments you'll ever read, because when you look around, when you talk to actual fans, not Twitter trolls, not media figures, real people, you realize how ridiculous that accusation is. Caitlin Clark's fan base isn't built on hate. It's built on excitement, on respect for greatness, on love for the game. What's crazy and a little hopeful is that normal people on both sides of the political spectrum see through this nonsense now. It's no longer a left versus right thing. It's normal people versus people who profit off division. I've talked to fans who are politically left, fans who are politically right, and all of them agree that this kind of rhetoric is tired, dishonest, and damaging because it takes something beautiful like sports bringing people together and tries to twist it into something ugly. Eaton's headline itself says Caitlin Clark's season is over, but the mob's anger isn't about her health. You see what he's doing? It's manipulation by language. He uses mob instead of fans, anger instead of disappointment. He's playing word games because he knows those words carry emotional weight. And in the age of clickbait, that's what gets attention. He even quotes Caitlin's statement when she announced she was done for the season. A statement that was pure class. She said, "I'd hope to share a better update, but I will not be returning this season." Disappointed isn't a big enough word, but even in the bad, there is good. The way the fans continued to show up brought me so much joy and perspective. Eaton calls it a statement full of grace and perspective, and then immediately twists it, saying that her fans didn't care, that her fans only cared about their so-called culture war. See, that's what people like Eaton do. They pretend to praise you and then immediately undermine you with a narrative that fits their bias. And here's where it gets even worse. Eaton claims that Caitlin Clark has asked repeatedly not to be used to promote white grievance or white supremacy narratives. Really? When? Where's the quote? Where's the proof? There is none, because that never happened. This is the same playbook we've seen all season. Certain media members constantly ask Caitlin bait questions about racism, fans, diversity, trying to get her to denounce her own supporters, the very people who made her the most watched player in the league. That's what this has always been about, separating Caitlin Clark from her fan base, because her fan base's power, its influence, its visibility. If they can get her to shame or disown her own fans, they can weaken that bond. That's why these narratives never stop. Eaton even drags out that same tired list of buzzwords: toxic, mob, grievance, supremacy. They don't even mean anything anymore. They're just tools for control, tools for silencing anyone who refuses to play along. And let's not forget the context. These are the same folks who claimed repeatedly that Fever fans hurled slurs at opposing players like Angel Reese, Brittany Griner, Alyssa Thomas, and Dejani Carrington. You remember that? Every time it made headlines, and every time when the investigations came out, nothing. No video, no audio, no witnesses. We're talking about games broadcast live, arenas filled with cameras, 17,000 people in the stands holding their phones, and somehow not one shred of evidence of these alleged slurs. But Eaton and people like him don't care about facts because the narrative is the product. Truth doesn't make them money, outrage does. And then he says the mob that turned Clark into a political totem doesn't care about her health or her wishes. Once again, projection. The real mobs are the online hordes attacking Caitlin every time she does something well. The same ones who cheered when she got hit hard in games. The same ones who said she deserved it for being too confident. Remember those clips? The dirty screens, the body checks, the uncalled fouls? Kennedy Carter's cheap shot, J.C. Sheldon getting knocked to the ground, Dejani Carrington jawing in her face, Alyssa Thomas slamming her on a pick, Marina Mabrey bumping her mid-play. These were real, caught on video, seen by millions. And yet people like Eaton tell us that those weren't real, that we're twisting normal fouls into morality plays. No, Eaton, we're not twisting anything. We're reacting to what's right in front of us. Caitlin Clark didn't ask for sympathy. She didn't ask for protection. She just asked for fair play and for the league to treat her like any other superstar. But instead of focusing on the basketball, we keep getting distractions like this, opinion pieces that paint her fans as villains and her success as a social problem. And here's what Eaton completely misses. Even without Caitlin Clark, Fever fans kept supporting the team. They didn't disappear. They didn't turn on the league. They just missed watching the player who made them fall in love with the WNBA in the first place. That's not toxicity, that's loyalty. So no, Eaton, Caitlin Clark fans aren't angry because they lost a weapon. They're disappointed because they lost their favorite player for the season. They're frustrated because of the confusion surrounding her injury. They're tired because every time they defend her, someone tries to twist it into a racial issue. And it's time we stop indulging this, because every time we give these divisive voices airtime, we're giving them what they want: attention and power. The truth is, Caitlin Clark saved the WNBA from obscurity. She's the reason the league hit record attendance, record ratings, and new sponsorship deals. So if people like Eaton Thomas want to keep throwing stones, let them, because the fans know the truth. Caitlin Clark doesn't need to be a symbol for anything other than greatness. And the sooner we stop entertaining this nonsense, the sooner we start focusing on basketball again, the better off the sport will be. Because no amount of manufactured outrage will ever erase the fact that Caitlin Clark changed women's basketball forever.
We've seen this pattern play out again and again in the media. It's not new. It's happened with voices like Monica McNutt and plenty of others before.
Make it long-term commercially viable.
Two things. I think it has to show up in our storytelling, and it has to be encouraged by our families.
Yeah.
To me, right? And so covering the WNBA this past season, Caitlin Clark's rookie year, for all of the conversation that surrounded her, some which was fair and some which wasn't, the one thing that I cannot deny is the amount of little girls that were showing up to follow her. Little girls with their parents and the fervor and the energy there.
Why her?
Same thing.
Why her?
Well, I was just about to say same thing for Angel Reese when I had a chance to cover their games. But I think Caitlin represented, and again, some of this to me probably is not fair to her because it was not anything that she said or was truly based on her personality, but she was a white girl from the middle of America. And so she represented a whole lot to a lot of people, whether that is truly what she prescribed to or not. We can all say she is a dynamic basketball player and a force both on.
It always circles back to the same thing, doesn't it? Every single time. And honestly, I'm exhausted from it. That's exactly why I wanted to make this video, because this whole cycle has become ridiculous. Maybe I haven't made my point as clearly as I'd like, but I really want to know what you think down in the comments. Because, man, I'm tired of seeing this same narrative being pushed over and over again. It doesn't help anyone. It doesn't bring people together. All it does is divide. If Caitlin Clark were the same exact player, the same talent, but just had a different look, people would still be watching her. It's her game, her confidence, her energy, her range, that Logo 3 magic that makes her must-see basketball. That's what people are drawn to. And it's especially strange to hear this kind of talk from someone like Monica McNutt, someone who often speaks about representation, about seeing herself on screen, about inclusion and opportunity. Yet somehow, when it comes to Caitlin Clark, it turns into a completely different story. Why? Because Middle America supports her? Because she's become the face of something bigger than basketball? Come on. There have been plenty of players from similar backgrounds, same regions, same tone, whatever you want to say, but none of them captured the game the way Caitlin has. None of them connected with fans the way she does. That's not about color or geography. That's about greatness. That's about charisma, leadership, and skill that breaks through every wall the media tries to build. And that's the point. This whole back and forth, this us versus them angle, it's all just noise. It's a hustle to keep people outraged and distracted, to keep folks arguing instead of appreciating what's happening right in front of them. A once-in-a-generation talent changing the sport. Anyway, I'm done ranting. I want to hear what you think. Drop your thoughts below, smash that like button, and make sure you're subscribed if you haven't already. I appreciate every one of you watching. Go out there and have the day you truly deserve.